Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards, and in this video, I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani and whether or not he is a good investment. Shohei Ohtani, he's a 2021 AL MVP. He's a very good pitcher, a very good hitter, and overall he's a solid player. There's only been one or two players in the history of baseball who've been able to do exactly what he's doing right now, Babe Ruth and himself essentially. Babe Ruth played in a very different time than Shohei Ohtani is playing. People would argue because, there was the color barrier that wasn't broken. It wasn't quite as competitive. Shohei Ohtani came from Japan and he's done great so far. So let's talk about some things that are good about Shohei Ohtani as an investment for baseball cards and some things that are bad. And I know some people don't like baseball cards being investments, but with the prices of Ohtani's rookie cards as they are, you basically either need to love him as a player and he's your favorite player to buy those cards, or you're looking long term and thinking they can have some serious play. Before we start, if you are a sports card, trading card, baseball card fan, this is the channel for you. We post 2 to 3 times every single week exclusively about baseball card content, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. So without further ado, let's just jump into some stats. Here are some beautiful things from Shohei Ohtani. He had 9.1 WAR last year, which won him the MVP. He was basically almost 2 full wins higher than the next closest player in both leagues. And usually Mike Trout's up there with around 8 to 10 WAR, but he was hurt. And Mookie's usually up there with around 6 to 8 WAR as well, but he also didn't have his best season. And Ohtani was by far the best player when it came to overall value provided. You can argue that Vlad was a better bat, and I would totally understand and probably agree with you. But Ohtani being able to pitch and adding that level of help to his team and value that Vlad did not have, I think just makes Ohtani the clear MVP favorite and winner. So let's just look at some stats that I think are interesting. So if you look at adjusted OPS plus, which takes into consideration park factors and a bunch of other things, you can see that Ohtani was 5th in all of baseball behind Tatis, Guerrero, Soto, and Bryce Harper, which is really, really impressive. A 158 OPS plus is hard to do, and it'll be hard to replicate for him. He obviously was close his rookie year in 2018 in 104 games. He actually was pretty good the next year as well. He had a big drop off in offensive production in comparison to his rookie year. But in 2020, he was recovering from Tommy John essentially, and he didn't have the best years, only 44 games, not a big deal. So he came back strong this year and he looked really, really good. There are some things that I'm not showing yet that are amazing from his in-depth analytics. He does strike out a ton, as you can see from his baseball savant percentile rankings over here, and he does swing and miss a ton. And you can see this whenever you see him play. He swings so hard, and it makes it such a fun at bat. So when he does connect, the ball really goes a long ways, which you can see from expected slugging. He's 100th percentile, meaning he's top in the league. Max exit velocity, he's literally number 1. He hits the ball harder than anybody else. Average exit velocity, he's 98th percentile. And the craziest thing is he's able to be a great pitcher and a great hitter while still having 91st percentile speed. He's very, very fast. Mike Trout's quick, but it's surprising how quick Shohei Ohtani is compared to his other teammates. And one thing I do want to pull up as well, here's his pitching statistics, 9-2 with a 3.18 ERA. He had a OPS plus of 158, ERA plus of 141. Both are elite, essentially, in comparison to their peers. And one thing I do want to point out is his lineup he's going to be in next year. We have Ohtani in the 1 spot, Mike Trout behind him, giving them the literal best protection you could possibly get. Jared Walsh, he's a really good player, really good first baseman, and probably one of their best hitters over Anthony Rendon at this point. But they have Anthony Rendon and the 4-hole, who will bounce back once he's healthy, as long as he stays healthy. Max Stassi is one of the best offensive catchers from 2021. Brandon Marsh is a top prospect who is okay. Joe Adell, who is an otherworldly prospect for a lot of years, and he can be good. Tyler Wade, who I think is just a placeholder until they can sign a shortstop when free agency comes back. And then David Fletcher, who's a solid player in the 9-hole. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to drive people in, the people like David Fletcher and Joe Adell down here. Neither are high OBP guys down here in the bottom of the order, but pitchers can't really take a breath with them. And that just makes Ohtani's life easier as it turns to the top of the order. And I love seeing Mike Trout batting behind Shohei Ohtani because his OBP, if we look, is pretty good. 372 is really, really good, and that could give Mike Trout more opportunities to drive some RBI as well. So those are the good things about Shohei Ohtani. I want to compare some pricing before I jump into some reasons why you could be hesitant. So if we look at his actual pricing, this is his first Bowman chromatograph. He has 2, 1 pitching, 1 hitting. This came out first, his pitching Bowman chromatograph, and goes for a tiny bit more for that reason. He is the green line. He was lower than everybody a year ago. His autograph was still $4,000. So it's not like it was cheap, but one thing I do want to call out is look at the pop. Only 46 PSA 10s versus 221 with Soto, 186 with Tatis, and 104 with Acuna. So he has less than 25% of Soto, 25% of Tatis, and about half of Acuna. So it's no surprise that this has gone up so high, and he's probably the highest right now. We haven't had a recent sale, but if we did, I could almost guarantee it'd be higher than Juan Soto right here. And it's for a good reason. It's because his cards are really rare, and he's a good ball player. But he also is going into his age 27 season season. He'll turn 28 this year, and he is older than all of these players. Everybody here is 24 or younger, heading into their 24 or younger season. So there is more upside, if they win multiple MVPs, there's more upside versus Ohtani. But overall, his pricing is really fair when he's basically level right now, value 78, 68, 52. Acuna looks like it's still right now at 45, but he's level with Tatis and Soto, we could say. And he has this international flair. His cards are more rare and less PSA 10s exist, so you can see why that premium is there. Let's compare him to Ichiro, and I'm not doing it just because they're both from Japan, which is a great comparison because Ichiro is the best Japanese player of all time in the big leagues, that is, and Ohtani has the potential to be up there as well. They both have an MVP now, and overall, they're both great players. One thing I do want to say, though, is if I was making baseball card content back in 2003. Ichiro at the time, by his age 29 season, had 16.9 WAR, and he was a good ball player, MVP. Then he had his 17th MVP after his first MVP, and then 23rd overall in MVP voting. I would have said that Ichiro's not going to make the Hall of Fame. It's just too late for him. He came over from Japan too late. The odds of him being able to play as long as we need him to play, he's shorter. People always say shorter people always break down faster. He's a speed guy. All these different things you could argue about Ichiro completely went out the window. And he put up 60 WAR in his career, which is amazing when you consider he debuted at age 27, because that means he compiled 43 WAR after his age 30 season. That's really impressive. And this is what Ohtani's going to have to do. Granted, you can see up here, Ohtani already has 15 WAR heading into his age 27 season, so he's 15 WAR ahead of where Ichiro was. And I know WAR's not everything. I only use it as a complete overall value compared to other stats because it's easier to compare Ichiro, who's more of like a slap hitter, quick guy, versus Ohtani, who's a power hitter. So we'll use WAR for this situation. But you can see with Ichiro, he was able to stay healthy for a long time. The problem with Ohtani is a lot of his value comes from pitching, and it's going to be really, really difficult for him to be an elite pitcher and an elite hitter into his late 30s, early 40s. Ichiro played till his mid 40s, which is crazy at age 45. Well, let's be fair. This was 2 games of Seattle as he retired. So basically till age 43. But regardless, a lot has to go right for Ohtani, which is kind of why I have some concerns with his cards. It is really hard to be really good for a whole year doing both of these things, and it's really hard to be really good for a full year doing one of these two things, whether you're hitting or pitching. It's hard. And you can see this is his 2021 season. This is his first half. Hit 279 with a 1062 OPS with 33 home runs by July. And this is the second half. He hit 229, 839 OPS with only 13 home runs. Not nearly as attractive as his first half. And it makes you wonder if that's because he was starting to wear down after pitching and hitting. Home run derby in the All-Star game, pitching and hitting in the All-Star game. All these things may have impacted him. And then we can see his pitching is actually improved in the second half last year. He went 4-1 with a 3.49 ERA and then 5-1 with a 2.84 ERA, which basically won him the MVP. If he would have been average the second half with how slow he was slowing down, I could see him losing the MVP award because all that value isn't there. But the first and second half thing isn't new to 2021. Granted, he hasn't had many plate appearances before this year. He had 84 and 71 games and 182 and 183 games, so about 40% of this right here is from 2021. But he always performs better in the first half. So that could just show that he does slow down when he's doing both. And he was 26 last year, heading into his age 27 season this year. It makes you wonder when he's 33 if it's something he can maintain and keep doing. And it also brings up a question. How good does he have to be at both for how long? Babe Ruth wasn't doing both for very long, and people talk about him as a two-way player. I think Ohtani realistically only has to be a 45 to 50 WAR player with the value he's added coming into the league later and providing offensive and pitching talent at the same time. It's just something so different that it might get him in the Hall of Fame easier than other players, which is good for his cards and for people collecting his cards long term. My other biggest thing is injuries with Ohtani. He already had Tommy John surgery. His elbow seemed fine last year, which is great. And overall, he didn't really deal with any injuries, which is so surprising because his teammate Mike Trout did. But Mike Trout's something to be careful of as an Ohtani collector because he can easily, if he stays healthy, overshadow Ohtani. He's not that much older than Ohtani, only 3 years older. He's age 30 this year, while Ohtani's in his age 27 season. Mike Trout, if he has a good year and Ohtani has an okay year, you will not hear about Ohtani nearly as much because his teammate could be another MVP winner since he's always in the MVP conversation. Every full year he's ever played, he's top 5 MVP voting in the last 10 years. So the point is he could actually really hurt Ohtani's cards. At the same time, if they're both good, I think each other is going to help each other be worth more. It's just if Ohtani takes any step backwards and Mike Trout is the same guy, it's going to hurt the values. So those are my main concerns. So it's kind of like, well, how do you approach collecting Ohtani? Should you collect Ohtani? Should you not? I'm not going to give you a straight answer. I can see a legitimate argument for both sides. I understand how important he is outside of just baseball and a worldwide market, and the international, everything he is doing is insane. And he's one of the few players ever to be successful at this thing when there's been over 20,000 baseball players to ever play baseball. So it's pretty crazy there. But I also understand injuries, age, all these other factors can be a huge concern for other people who want to buy and invest in his cards. So this is how you should approach it. If unsure, wait and see. I don't think his cards will be that much more next year, even if he has a good year. They may be up 10% more, 20% more, but I don't see him going double like they did this year because they were so much lower than when he was a Rookie of the Year winner in 2018. I think they could double over the next 5 years. But wait and see. If he has another good year and okay, now he's at 22 WAR. He had another 7 or 8 WAR season. I believe in him. Buy at that point. If you like him, buy him. It makes baseball so much more fun. If you have the funds, there's rookie cards. He has so many different rookies and the Panini sets that are lower end. And then he has basically every single set in Topps from 2018. Buy it, enjoy the ride. If you want low, mid, or high end, just be careful. Your risk tolerance. A little bit riskier than other players because of how he plays, being so athletic, so dynamic, and being used so much. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.